In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the most merciful. Hello and welcome, my dear students, of today's lesson, which is going to be about Unit 6, writing. Mainly today, inshallah, we are going to write. Let's see the objectives of today's lesson. Today, inshallah, we will write a narrative about an important decisions and research Saudi Arabia treatments. Of course, we will start, as usual, by revising the previous lesson. Now, we talked about after reading, you need to answer true and false. Number one, to get the sample of DNA, doctors must draw a large quantity of blood. Number two, newborn screening is not a common type of genetic testing. Number three, predictive gene testing can be done for treatable and untreatable disorders. Number four, a positive test generally brings great relief to the test taker. And number five, if someone tests positively for a disease, they will definitely develop the disease. Now, we talked about this earlier, and let's see the answers. With number one, to get a sample of DNA, doctors must draw a large quantity. We said no, we need only a drop of the blood. Number two, newborn screening is not a common type of genetic, and we said that not, okay, here I'm talking about false, okay. Number three, predictive gene testing can be done for treatable and untreatable, and this is actually true. What about number four? A positive test generally talking about brings great relief to the test taker, which is false, of course. And number five, if someone tests positively for a disease, they will definitely, which is, okay, which is something wrong, that sometimes they don't develop the disease, okay? So it is false. It is false. Now let's start our lesson today by seeing these two pictures here. Very good. Now, can you tell now who are they? Okay, very good. You can see teacher, students. What about the second here? The people. Who are the people in this place? Okay, travelers. Very good. Okay, nice. Now, what they are doing, actually, can you tell? What are they doing? I mean, are they working, studying? Very good. So they are studying. Nice. What about this picture here? Okay, they are catching a flight. Catching a flight. Do you remember this phrase? Catching a flight. Very good. Now, today, inshallah, you are going to write, but before writing, you are going to read and listen to a personal essay about someone's choice of study and profession. Okay, in today's lesson, inshallah. But first, how do you think people decide on a field of study or a job? For example, think about yourself, okay? How do you think people decide on a field of study or a job? And which factors affect their decisions or choice, okay? So we need now to think about people, okay, decision. How do they decide on a field of study or a job? And number two, which factors, okay, I'm underlining factors now, affect their decision or their choice? You need to think about this. Why? Because as I said, you are going to read about someone's choice or someone essay or personal essay of someone's choice. Now, very good. I need you now to also to see this one. Number one, read the text. You are going to read the text and find out. It is much important for you, okay, to find out this information, just like what we did in the reading passage, okay? Look for information. What did the writer originally want to study? Okay, so look for keywords. Want to study. Number two, why did he give up? Give up, what does it mean, give up? His original plan. Okay. Three, why do you think he took different training courses. Why? I'm asking a lot of questions about reasons. Okay, why? Then number 4, what had he done to qualify as a language teacher? To be qualified as a language teacher. Then number 5, what other job opportunity, we talked about chances, opportunity, did he have? And what prompted him to make his final choices? Okay, as you can see, does he regret it or not? Okay, does he regret or not? Okay, so you need to actually to read and find the answers for all these questions, okay, in your book. Then inshallah we'll come back for number 2. What would you have done? And actually this is the title of the whole unit, okay? What you have done, for example, what would you have done? Imagine that yourself in this place, okay, instead of this person. Okay, now we are going to read. As I said, you are going to listen, and while that you are going to read along with the audio. Please open your book, page 90. Page 90, please. We will start now reading. Of course, while listening, read along the audio, please. Let's start.
Page 90. 10. Writing.
After I finished school, I chose to try out a number of things before settling on one field of study or profession. I had originally wanted to go to art school, but had changed my mind when I found out how hard it was for graduates to find employment. I was also reluctant to go ahead with it because I knew that my father was likely to disapprove in a quiet but very noticeable manner. He wanted me to study medicine, but I didn't. I took a number of courses in typing, shorthand, French, art, design, and literature, and worked part-time as a public relations assistant, a shop assistant, etc. Eventually, I started studying psychology, philosophy, and linguistics. I had also managed to attend a teaching methodology course that qualified me as a language teacher, but I was not at all certain that I wanted a teaching career. At some point, I was approached by a new airline company that invited me to do an interview, followed by a test before I could be offered a job. At the time, I used to help out with registration at a large language center where my uncle taught. So I agreed to spend the next few days working for them from morning till evening, totally forgetting the airline company. 2 days later, the man I knew from the airline company turned up and accused me of being irresponsible because I had not bothered to check with the airline company on the final results and a job offer. He said there was still time to do it, but I would have to drop what I was doing and run. For some reason, I did exactly the opposite. I stayed put, thanked him, and went back to work. Later that evening, I was offered my first teaching job by the director of studies. I have often wondered what my life would have been like if I had chosen the airline company instead, but not too enthusiastically. Regardless of difficulties and ups and downs, this is the choice that has become a life's choice, and no amount of wondering is likely to ever make me regret it.
Very good. Now, you have read this one. Okay, as you can see, as we said earlier, this is someone's choice of job, study, and profession. Okay, and we said that after I finished school, I choose to try out a number of things before sitting on one field or study, okay, or a profession. What do I mean by a profession here? It means job, okay, something to work, okay. I had originally wanted to go to art school, okay. So when I'm talking about originally, wanted to go to art school, okay, but had changed my mind when I found out how hard it was for graduates, okay, to find employment. Okay, so the art school, for example, it's hard to find employment. I was also relocated, okay, to go ahead with it, because I knew that my father was likely to disapprove, okay. What does it mean to disapprove? It means that he wouldn't, okay, agree with me, okay, of course, when I want to go to the art school, okay. He wanted me to study medicine, of course. He wanted you to study medicine to become a doctor, for example, okay. So I took a number of courses in typing, okay. Now he's trying to give skills, okay, shorthand, French, art, design, and literature, of course, and worked part-time as a public relationship assistant. Okay, so now he's trying to improve himself. He's trying to develop the skills that he had. So eventually, I started studying psychology, philosophy, and linguistics. Okay, eventually. I had also managed to attend a teaching methodology. Now I'm talking about courses that qualified me what? As a language teacher. Okay, so here, what make him qualified as a language teacher? We said that, okay. I'd also managed to attend a teaching methodology, okay, as you can see, courses that qualified me as a language teacher. But I was not all certain that I wanted a teaching career, okay. So here he started. At some point, I was approached by a new airline company, okay, that invited me to do an interview, of course, followed by a test before I could be offered the job. At that time, or the time, I used to help out with registration at a large language center where my uncle taught, okay. So his uncle was a teacher, okay, in this center. So I agreed to spend the next few days working for them from morning till evening, totally forgetting the airline company, okay. So here, what about this one? 2 days later, the man I knew from the airline company turned up, it means show, okay, turned up and accused me of being irresponsible. Irresponsible, do you remember this word? Okay, because I had not bothered to check with the airline company on the final results and the job offer. Okay, so why he is now accusing him or accused him? Okay, so he did not bother, okay, to check with the airline company on the final results and what? And job offer. He said there was still time to do it, but I would have to drop what I was doing, okay, and run. So as I said earlier, this is the choices, how we can find choices, okay, or to change these choices, as we said earlier. Later that evening, now he is giving you, or he is narrating the story to the audience or to the reader, okay, in order to do what? Okay, to give you the whole story or the scenario, as you can see here, okay. Now he is giving you what happened and what he actually went through, okay, and undergo this procedure. For example, later that evening, I was offered my first teaching job by the director of studies. I have often wondered what my life would have been. Okay, so now he's thinking about, okay, what would life have been? Okay, so now, as I said, think about your life as a student now, okay, and what you want to be, inshallah, in the next few years. Okay, just like this one here. Okay, originally he wanted to study in the art school, but eventually what happened to him? Okay, he became a teacher because he has a teaching methodology courses and so on. Okay, so started his planning, okay, or he plans for this in the earlier than that he thought. Okay, than he thought. I have often wondered, okay, what my life would have been like if I had chosen the airline company instead? Okay, what if I had chosen the airline company? But not too enthusiastically, regardless of difficulties and ups and downs, this is the choice that has become a life's choice, and no amount of wondering is likely to ever make me regret it. Okay, so now I'm not regretting being a teacher or a language teacher, as you can see here. Okay, very good. Now let's move to number 3. You are going to read again the text again and find out, are all the events presented in chronological order, and how do you know? Okay, then which sentences or phrases or words provide information about the writer's thoughts, attitude and feelings? Then which part reveals the writer's position on the matter? Are there sections, phrases, sentences that address a longer period of time in real terms but very briefly? And finally, are there sections or phrases or even sentences that address a shorter? Okay, the first one is a longer, the second one is a shorter. This is the difference between these two. Okay, period of time in real terms but in a greater detail. No, okay, I'm talking about the first one briefly, but very briefly, and the second one is greater detail. Okay, I need you to think about this, to read again, okay, and of course to come back and to see the answer. Okay, but first read again and find the answers of these questions. Okay, very good. Now let's move to see, of course, not all events are represented in chronological order. Okay, why? Because, for example, I had originally wanted to go to art school. Okay, so here indicates that this was so before the writer finished school. Okay, so I'm not talking about in order or as a sequence or something like that. No. Okay, the writer here mentions something is not all events are presented in chronological order. Okay, so sometime like here, he originally wanted to go to art school. It doesn't mean indicating that he was so before the writer finished school. What about the second one we talked about? Now look, but I had changed my mind when I was also reluctant. My father was likely to disapprove in a quiet but very noticeable manner. Okay, so a manner, sorry. Okay, now look at these here. But I didn't. Okay, he wanted him, okay, his father wanted him to study medicine instead. Okay, also not all that certain that I wanted to a teaching career. For some reason I did exactly the opposite. Okay, what? I have often wondered what my life would have been like also, but not too enthusiastically talking about this one. This is the choice that has become a life choice. Okay, this has become a life's choice to ever make me regret it. Okay, then we ask you about reveals. Of course, the last paragraph reveals the writer's position or thoughts. Okay, what we said about. Finally, after I finished school refers to a long time in actual terms, so do the following sentences. I choose to try out a number of things. I took a number of courses. Okay, so this is actually what happened when we asked this one. Okay, are there sections or phrases or sentences that address a longer period of time in real life? I mean, we said yes, real terms, yes. And are there sections or phrases or sentences even address a shorter period of time in real terms but in greater detail? as you can see here, you can use, for example, choose to try out a number of things, okay, and I took a number of courses, okay. This one is like briefly, and this one is with details. I took, for example, a number of courses. Now, we are going to move to the second point of our lesson today, okay, which is B, which is on page 91. Think of an important decision you or a family member has made. You need to think about this. Compare what your life is like now, talking about now, life now, okay, and what it would have been like if, I'm talking about if, okay, if you or a family member had made a different decision. So if you choose something or decide something else, okay, how life would have been different, okay, if you made different decision, of course. Use the chart to organize your ideas. So you are going to use your ideas here, okay, and then inshallah, finally, we are going to write a personal narrative on this subject, just like what we did with the first or in the start of this lesson, okay. Now, I need you to think of what about your life now, okay. What do you want to, for example, to study, okay, or an occupation or something like that. I'm talking about profession, okay. Then, how life would have been different if you decided or if you make a different decision, okay. It's going to be harder, or you're going to be, or are you going to regret this life, for example, okay. Very good. Finally, you are going to write a personal narrative on this subject, the same subject as you chose here, okay. You are going to write a narrative, okay. As you can see here, speculative and narrative essay about this decision, okay, about this decision. Now, let's see how we can write actually a narrative essay. When you write a reflective and speculative personal narrative, okay, think about the following. Think about the following. What has already happened? Then, what opportunities were available and what results have taken? What feelings and attitude you have experienced? Which people were involved directly or indirectly? How to present your ideas so you can set the context clearly for your reader. Okay, so these are the main important things that you need to think. Okay, then refer to the real context and what you are going to do. Okay, reflect and or evaluate the decision or choice you made. The reflection talking about, okay, wonder or speculate, predict how things might have been different. Address the question to your reader, address the question, and express satisfaction or regret about your decision or your choice. Are you happy with this choice or decision, or you are going to regret this one? Okay, so first you are going to write, and then you are going to refer, okay, your choices in the real context. Okay, now look at this one here, a life-changing decision. You are going to read this one. After I graduated from high school, I had the choice of going to a university in my hometown or going to one far from home. Okay, so now choices, okay, one in my hometown and the other one far from home. Okay, so I choose to go to the university far from home. Okay, decision now, decided this. Although I am happy with my choice, sometimes I feel as if I live a million miles from home. If I had chosen differently, okay, it would have led to a very different life for me. So now he's taking the decisions now, as you can see here, okay, and he's referring this, okay, as in the context or in the real life, okay? Like here, although, for example, I am happy with my choice, sometimes I feel as if I live where? A million miles from home, okay? I need you to write just one like this, okay? Try to use this model, okay? And while you're writing, of course, try to use this one, okay, on page 91. We have finished our lesson today. As you can see, these are the objectives. I would like to thank all of you for watching us today, and inshallah, I hope to see you next lesson, inshallah.